So we've looked at how to make an individual object, but you might remember when we made the practice game, you put a tile set in which had lots of different blocks on. You could then choose from them and put them on as like background items, sort of soil, ground, whatever it was. Okay. Now you can actually make your own tile sets that you can put into Game Maker. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now this is a bit trickier than what we've looked at before, so watch carefully, but it's not so tricky that I think you'll not be able to get it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back into Photoshop. Notice we've got my character there from the last video, which remember we made 64 by 64. So we know that 64 by 64, if that's what we've chosen in Game Maker as our grid size, is going to be the size of each square. So we want to make each tile 64 by 64. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to get the calculator out for a second. I should probably be able to do this in my head, but I'm lazy, so I'm going to find the calculator and accessories. You might have a key and press on your keyboard just to get it. I'm sure somebody's pressed it a million times and opened up loads of calculators on your screen before. So we know that 64 by 64 is the size, but let's say that we want it to be like 5 tiles across and 5 tiles down for our tile set. So let's times 64 by 5, and we get 320. So what I'm going to do in Photoshop is I'm going to make a graphic which is 320 by 320. That'll allow me to do 5 tiles across and 5 tiles down. Again, I could give it a name, so I'm going to call it tile set 1. Click OK, and there is my graphic. Now at the minute, it's hard to tell where 64 pixels goes across to make my individual tiles. Now I could do it by opening up the ruler, so I could show the ruler, but this is still going to be really hard to tell. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to find Preferences. It might be under Edit actually. So Edit, Preferences here. And if I go to Guides, Grid, Slices and Count. So under Edit, Preferences, I'm going to go into these guides here. And then what I can do is I can say there's going to be a grid line every so many pixels. If I change that from centimeters to pixels, so there's going to be a grid line every 64 pixels. I'm going to click OK, like that. And then it hasn't shown anything because I still need to show the guides. So I'm going to go to View and show, I think it's Grid. Yeah, that's it. So show grid, and what you can see is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've now got the right size for each individual tile. So what I would now do is I would draw my tiles in each one of these squares. Probably want to zoom in a bit so I can see them better. So if I was working on that one, I could zoom in and do that. So I'm not going to do this in detail again. I'll just do it fast. Let's say I wanted a bit of grass, then I could maybe just get a green, and then whatever, colour it in like that. Put a bit of soil on top, a bit of grass on top, or whatever. I might want a little bit that's going down on the next tile, so if I just deselect it, this time I might use the polygon lasso just to like, so if I want a bit where it goes down a level, I can do that. And once it's selected, oops, if that ever happens, just undo and it'll come back. Then I could get the pencil tool again. That tile might be like a ledge that goes down. You get the idea. So I would build it up step by step, all of the little tiles that I want. Now, if you wanted any of that to be transparent, you'd have to do something that I didn't do there. You'd have to make it on new layer. I don't know if you can see this from my webcam, but if I just make a new layer down here on the layer palette, I've now got a background and I've got a copy of the background. And I'm just going to delete the white and use a magic wand to just select all of the white and press delete so that that's transparent. And then if I delete the background layer, the original background layer, which if you can't see it from my webcam is just a little trash can button, and then you can see that it's now transparent behind those. So when I put those into my game, you'll only see the green, you won't see anything else. So if I zoom out a bit, I've only done 2 tiles there, obviously, but you could fill these all in and then have a range of tiles that you can choose from to make your game.